Hello, this is lecture 6 of computational methods, and in this method we are going to be talking about how to solve ordinary differential equations, or what are called ODEs. Now, I don't need to remind you about the importance of differential equations. You've seen them numerous times in various courses. Physics, chemistry also have applications in biology, not even necessarily in natural sciences. Also, if you are trying to do some calculations in economics, demography, etc., lots of applications of differential equations. So just to give you a few examples, you might want to calculate the motion of a planet around the sun. You might want to calculate electromagnetic fields, heat equation, diffusion equation. In quantum mechanics, various problems such as solving the hydrogen atom or the harmonic oscillator require differential equations. In chemistry, if you want to model the kinetics of a reaction, you want to write how the amount of one particular chemical reactant change or a product changes with the concentration of the reactants, then you can write down differential equation for that. In biology, you might want to model the population of various species. So all of these applications and more there are of ordinary differential equations in general. Basically, any kind of system where you're concerned with a change, you're concerned with the dynamics of the system. So how does something change with respect to time, or how does something change as you move in space from one point to another? Any such system which is changing and you want to calculate its change with respect to some other quantity, then you'll use differential equations over there. Now, some of these differential equations can be ordinary differential equations or ODEs, and some of these are going to be partial differential equations or PDEs. Difference just being that in ordinary differential equations you have the ordinary derivatives d by dt, let's say, and in the partial derivatives, in the partial differential equation you'll have partial derivatives. So both of these are independent subjects in their own right, because there are different techniques that are required to use them. ODEs are generally easier to solve, and in this course we are only going to concentrate on solving ordinary differential equations. So we are not going to be looking at partial differential equations. In some cases, PDEs can be reduced to separate ODEs. In that case, it's straightforward. But even otherwise, there are altogether separate techniques that one can use for solving partial differential equations. So we are not going to touch on those in this lecture. We're only going to talk about ordinary differential equations. So what's an example of an ODE? You might have something like dx by dt is equal to, I don't know, sine t divided by x square or something like this. Now this kind of equation is easy to solve because this is what is called a separable equation. So I can just write this as x squared dx equals sine t dt, and then I can integrate both sides, and both of these are very straightforward integrals. You can do it analytically by hand. You don't need to use a numerical method to do this. So you integrate this, and of course you have to put some constant of integration when you're integrating. And how do you determine what that constant of integration is? The way to do that is to use what are called initial conditions. Or you can use what are called boundary conditions. Basically what this means is that you just have to specify that something like when t is equal to 0, then x is equal to some x naught, let's say. So you solve this differential, you saw this integration over here, so you'll get something like x cubed by 3 is equal to integral of sinus minus cosine plus c, and then you plug in this condition. So cosine of 0 is 1, so this is x 3. So this tells you what the value of c should be. So c will be some constant. In this case, this is 1 plus x naught cubed by 3. And then this gets plugged in over here. So your final solution is this. So this entire thing is a constant. And this equation tells you how x depends on t. So the crucial point to remember over here is that just specifying a differential equation like this is not sufficient. Just with a differential equation, you don't understand what the full solution is going to be. You need a differential equation, and in addition to that, you need some kind of a condition. And only together, you will get your final solution like this. Otherwise, you will be stuck with some kind of constant, like an unknown constant c, and you won't know your complete solution. So when you're solving, anytime you're solving a differential equation, you need the differential equation itself, and you need to know some condition. And so normally, of course, it's not a requirement, but suppose I was interested in integrating from 0 to some t final, let's say. Then if you specify the condition at t equal to 0, so if you say at t equal to 0, x equal to, let's call it x0, then this is called an initial condition because you are specifying it at the initial time t. But in general, you don't have to necessarily give it at the starting. You might want to give it at the end. So you might say that when t is equal to t fin, then x is equal to, let's call it x fin. So you specify the value at the end. So then in general, so this is not an initial condition, this is an endpoint condition. So in general, if it can be either initial or final, then it's called a boundary condition. So we look at both of these cases. We look at cases where it's an initial value, an initial condition problem, as well as when it's a boundary condition problem where you are specifying it at either end. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to look at is a first order ordinary differential equation. First order just means you only have terms like dx by dt. You don't have the second derivative d2x by dt square. So this is not there. So the general form that we want to solve is dx by dt is some function of x and t. This is the most general first order differential equation, first order ordinary differential equation that we can write down. So on the previous page, we saw an example where it was like dx by dt was, what was it? Sine by x. And this was easy to solve by separating out the variables. But what if we had something like this? Now this is not separable, is it? I don't think so. Yeah, this is not a separable equation. So if you want to solve this analytically, I am not sure if it's even possible. So for a problem like this, you might want to use a numerical method. So here is the general form. You write it like this: dx by dt is f of xt, where in this specific case, this entire right hand side is my f of xt. So question is, how do you solve this kind of differential equation? So there are various methods. The first method that we will look at is Euler's method. It is the most straightforward of the various methods. I think we look at how many? 2 methods or 3 methods for solving first order ODEs. Euler's method is the most basic one, and it uses nothing more than what a differential equation actually means. So, very important, differential equation, and I need one initial condition. So, right, so first we are looking at initial conditions only. So, suppose I specify that when t is equal to t initial, let's say x is equal to x initial. Well, let's call it x0. So this is my initial condition. Now let's look at what a differential equation actually means. So when I say dx by dt is f of xt, it means that if I am, so let's draw a graph of t as a function of x as a function of t. So in the end, so when I solve this differential equation, I will get something like x of t is equal to some function. I will get some. So I'll get x is equal to some g of t. So some function I will get. What this differential equation means is that at any point t where I might be, so suppose I'm at this point t, the rate at which x changes is given by f. So f is the slope of x as a function of t. So over here, this slope is f xt. At this point, this is the slope. At this point, this is the slope. So differential equation is giving you the slope at every point, and you want to find out what is the function for which this is the slope. So if I just write, so the first thing that we will do is we will break up our entire time interval into a large number of small steps, exactly the same way as we did for numerical integration. Because come to think of it, solving a differential equation is basically an act of integration itself, right? Because you're given a derivative, you want to find out what is the antiderivative of that. So how should we do this? So I am interested in finding out. So the question is, what is the behavior of x of t at some later point? Let's call it t final. This is the question that I want to answer. So I am going to divide out my entire interval from t initial to t final into n steps. And so what is going to be the width of each of these steps? So I can call it h, and h is going to be t final minus t initial divided by n. Exactly like you did for trapezoid method, Simpson's method, all of those. Okay. So now let's write down the differential equation. So dx by dt, let's go to the next page. So we have dx by dt is equal to f of xt, and t is equal to, one second. So having done this, so if I call t in as t0 and T final as Tn, then every intermediate step over here, suppose this is the ith step, Ti is going to be T0 plus IH. Again, you have done your calculation using trapezoid and Simpson's methods, and this is exactly what you did when you broke up the interval. So you're getting at every Ti, every Ti you're getting in terms of I and H. Okay, so we know that when T equals T0, then X equals, what is my initial condition? X0. So you know your starting point. Your starting point is T0 and X0. So what we do is this dx by dt, you can write it as delta x by delta t is f of xt. Now what is your delta x? Delta x, so we are going to do iteratively. I know that at t0, I know what is the value of x0. I want to find out what is the value of x1 when I come to t1. So I can say x1 minus x0 divided by t1 minus t0 is equal to f at x0 t0. Or in other words, notice that t1 minus t0, this is just h. It is just the difference between every two consecutive time steps. By the way, I want to clarify, I'm calling it time, but it doesn't have to be time. In general, it's any one independent variable, one dependent variable. Time is a common example, that's why I'm taking derivative with respect to t. In general, you can have dy by dx or whatever. Okay, it doesn't have to be time. So what we have from here is x1 is x0 plus h times f of x0 t0. So I found out what x1 is going to be. So this is the value of x once I go to t1. Similarly, what happens now? I know at t1 what is x1. Now I can find out what is x2 at t2. So in exactly the same way, I will get x2 is x1 plus, and I can keep proceeding along these lines. In general, I will get xn or xi is xi minus 1 plus h times f of xi minus 1 ti minus 1. So basically, given t0 x0, I can calculate t1 x1. From there I can calculate t2 x2. From there I can calculate t3 x3 and so on. So this is your Euler's method. It's the most straightforward thing. The only thing that we have used is what it means to do a derivative. Basically, we have written this as this. That is the basic definition of a derivative. As long as your delta t, ideally, theoretically, delta t has to be infinitesimally small for this to be correct. But this is a numerical approximation. So we try to make delta t as small as possible. Exactly same as numerical integration. The smaller you make delta t, or smaller you make h, which means the more number of steps n that you take, the more accurate will be your answer. So here is how you solve a differential equation using Euler's method. Let's also do a quick error analysis of Euler's method. Let's see what is the error that we get when we solve a differential equation using this method. So you will notice that in general, so once again, let's go back to the Taylor expansion formula. X at t plus h is x at t plus h times dx by dt plus h square by 2 factorial second order term and so on. Now, when we are writing these equations over here, we are basically just assuming this part of it. Why do I say that? So this is like your x I plus 1. This is your xi. Here is your h. And dx by dt is your f, because that's a differential equation that we are solving. So in Euler's equation, we are only considering up to first order in the Taylor series expansion. Means we are ignoring these. Which means that the error in our estimation of x is of order h square. H square is the largest term that we are ignoring. So this is the amount of error that we should expect to get in our calculation. So later we will see another method called the Runge-Kutta method for solving differential equations. We'll find that the error over there is much smaller. So normally Euler method is straightforward to understand, and it's the basic for understanding more complicated methods. But in practice, it's not used so much for solving differential equations. No, actually, I should correct that. In general, it's not used extensively for solving ordinary differential equations. It is still used for partial differential equations, but not so much for the ordinary ones.
So let's try writing a short program to solve an ordinary differential equation using Euler's method. Simplest method that we've learned, should not be difficult to program this. Let me first write a comment telling me what kind of function exactly we are going to be integrating. So I want to solve the differential equation dx by dt equals, let's say, cosine, should I do cosine x or cosine t? Cosine t. So I know that the integral of this is going to be sine t. So, I mean, in principle, I don't really need to do this numerically, but just as an example, I'm going to take this function. Okay. So let's see. First, let's import cosine. Good. How should I start? Okay, so let's start with our t initial, t final. So t initial, let's say I'm going to start from 0 and I want to solve this differential equation going up to 10. Okay, how many steps do I want to take? Let's take 10 steps first. Let's see what we get. So I'm going to define my h as t final minus t initial divided by n. Very good. What else do I need? I need my initial condition. So let's say x initially, let's say x is 0 to begin with. So this is my initial condition which is given to me. So always a differential equation and an initial condition which together you have to solve. Okay, so I think I'm ready. Let's define the function to begin with. Define the function of x and t, and the function for me is just cosine of t. Okay, great. Now I think I'm ready to start my Euler method iterations. So for I in range 0 to n, actually I'm not going to take 0, I'm going to take from 1 to n, because x0 we already know. This is our x0, the initial condition. So for this range, what do I want to do? First, I want to define a ti. So ti is going to be t initial plus I times h. Okay, let's make some lists. So t list is equal to, so I'm going to start with t initial, and I'm going to make an x list which starts with just x, That's the initial condition. And now for every I, so I know what ti I am at, and then x gets incremented from the previous x. X is equal to x plus h times func of how have I defined func? X and t. Okay, so x and ti, correct? So I have my t and my x at that step. Let me append it to these lists. So to the t list, I'm going to append this value ti, and to the x list, I am going to append the value x. So basically, it's like an array, but I keep adding one element to it each time. With every iteration, I extend the array to add the next point. So by the end of this process, I have n elements in my t list and my x list. And let's see what they look like. Print. Okay. Why don't I run this? Okay. It would be nice if I could plot this somehow. Why don't I plot it? So from matplotlib.pyplot, I need plot and I need show. Okay. So I'll say plot t list and x list and show. Okay. So I have this plot over here. I realize you can't see the plot. I need to adjust my recording 1 second. So I think you should be able to see this now. So here is what I've got. It's not the prettiest picture, and the reason for that, and it's also kind of inaccurate if you think about it, because this is not what sine looks like. And the reason for that is simply that we've taken very few steps. We've only taken 10 steps. So let's try and increase the number of steps and see what we get. So over here, instead of 10, I'm going to say 100 steps. And let's try run this again. Much better. So this is your sine. Yeah, starts from 0 at 0, then at around pi by 2, which is 1.5-ish, it goes up to 1. Very good. So this is exactly like a sine wave. So the more steps you take, the more accurate your answer gets. Okay, good.